went down in the 1930s to car registration offices and got telephone numbers and car registration, and then they started calling. And in fact, they wanted to do a good job, so they called 1 million people. And a bevy of secretaries calling, and they determined that Langdon Smith, I think it was Langdon Smith, would win by a high margin. Well, Gallup, at the same time as a graduate student, a punk at graduate school, decided to do a stratified random sample. So he knew what the census data said about how many people at this age level, how many at this ethnicity, how many males, how many females. So he put that in a grid and then shrunk it down to 2,000 people. You can't interview, what, at that time was, 50 million people voting in the United States. So he shrunk it down, and he made sure he called everybody that fit those categories. So once he had 15 Hispanic females between the ages of 30 and 50, he stopped. Went to this group, went to this group, went to this group. And he didn't call them all. He decided to go door to door in some places, some calling, because he realized something that Literary Digest did wrong. In the 1930s, not everybody had a car, and not everybody had a phone. In fact, the Republican, Langdon Smith, was more likely to win in that population. But Gallup predicted that FDR would win by a landslide. And so here are these two predictions, and it came out in the newspaper. Punk mathematician predicts FDR would win. Literary Digest predicts this. Literary Digest spent this much money. And guess who was right? Well, we know who was right. FDR won. And Gallup immediately had tons of people interested in him doing pre-politician polls. And then later he got into polling. If you follow Phi Delta Kappa is now in its 38th year of surveying about what people think about education. The Gallup poll does that for them. So Gallup poll is very reliable. This is very reliable. I was skeptical when I first saw the first iterations of this, but now the second version is really impressive. And it focuses on how to increase you using your strength in teams. And if you want to take if you buy one of these books in the store, they'll give you a place to go online with a unique password where you can actually go take this strength finder. Have you done it?
I did it.
You did it?
Yeah.
Was it fairly accurate?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine came up, one of the first things, they give you a whole list of things that you're strong in. And mine was, you should get an occupation where you like ideas. You should be a teacher, researcher, or journalist. And I like to do all this. I like to write, I like to research, and I like to talk. I like to teach, but talking and teaching are not the same. That's what I had a 70-year-old professor next to me and a veteran teacher. She always come into my office at University of Akron and said, "You're doing talking and teaching are not the same." So she's got me a bit more into activities. But I would highly recommend you think about doing this. You think about engaging, buying this book, Strengths Finders 2.0. If you want it here, we have it at the bookstore. We still have a lot of copies. It's $20. And you get not only the book, but you get access to this. And when you take it online, it's timed. So just like this evaluation, don't sit there waiting to decide, because then it'll click. It'll go to the next window. I think it's 20 seconds to frame. That's about what? It takes about 20 minutes.
It took me about 30 for some reason.
Yeah. I was nervous. Somebody told me, don't let it go. And I realized later I let one go by, and it's about 20 seconds.
They have a gauge,
Yeah.
so you can keep your eye
Oh,
on
I
it.
didn't notice that.
Yeah.
I'm so busy. Fine, okay. But I think it's very accurate. And at the end, they'll give you all kind of reports and online. And you can I just cut and paste those reports and put them in a document so I can keep track of myself. And then it lets you email this to a friend. So you email it, I'm emailing it to my spouse, and said, you think, honey, my wife, okay, I didn't I emailed it, and she thought it was pretty accurate. So that was, to me, confirmation. And then my boss also knows about it, so she's the one that got us all signed in on this. So this is another way to think about teams. Because the whole idea is why play somebody's weakness. You know, back to my basketball illustration. You know, the guards are pretty good at bringing the ball down. And I love centers and I love forwards, but sometimes I've seen them bring down the ball. I mean, Brian's an exception. He can bring down the ball. But sometimes they just don't know how to bring it down very well. And it's not because they're not needed on the team. They're very needed, but in the right place. And that's why focusing on people's strengths is so important. And it's so important for you. So that when you go to a committee, you say, hey, I'm the process manager. I think I can help you by organizing this. And if you give me this outline and give me this stuff, I'll go back and I'll outline, organize, and bring it back to next minute. For example, I take minutes. I like when I'm on a team, I volunteer to take minutes. I know some people don't like that. Well, I like to type. I like to summarize stuff. And also, I like power. You don't realize how powerful minutes are. I can change what the minutes is. I can change what happened at the decision of the whole meeting. You know, the outcomes. I can reassign. You know, they said, I didn't think I volunteered for that. Did I thought it was you. It's 10 minutes. No, I like to take minutes because I do like to summarize. You know? And when you find that out, it's kind of relieving because most people don't like it. So you find out the strengths in the team. And that's an important aspect of forming a team. Okay? So strength finders. Now I'd like to spend just a little more time. How much time do I have? Oh, I got some time. So we talked a little bit about forming and norming, and I'm actually past my, I can actually go to 3. And that is team norm. Team norming. And I'd like to talk about this book. If you were in our educational leadership program, you would have had an opportunity to meet the Glassers. Susan and Peter Glasser are out of Oregon. They worked at Oregon State. I think it's Oregon State University, or University of Oregon, I forget which one. And they've done a lot with team building activities. And so we had them on campus last week, and they helped about 125 of our participant students think about how to work in a team environment. This is called Be Quiet, Be Heard, the Paradox of Persuasion, in which they talk about some team building activities. And I'm going to go over some. They have stuff online that you can also get. But Glaser, 1 S.
Stephen, is it S-P-H or E-D?
That's Peter, P-E-T-E-R, Peter, and Susan, not Stephen, Peter and Susan. Actually, it's really like that happened to be my grandparents' students. Peter and Susan Covrig. Oh, whatever. Peter and Susan. Susan is actually the academic side of this writing duo. She's published a lot of academic articles. And what I want to share with you is just some simple techniques of working in a team. So you got your team formed. You kind of understand, if you're the leader of the team, you keep track of everybody's skills here. Especially keep an eye on that radical. No, but you need to be, then you have to get to the point of having some norms and how you're going to meet. And they shared something that I thought was very simple and very effective. They talked about task, skills that a team needs to have. And I'm going to go over them. They're really simple, and I thought they were very effective. Number 1 is you start with a press activity. And we'll fill this in. The press activity is each person makes their point, tells the reason they believe in that point. They give an example of that point, and then they summarize their belief on that issue. This is especially useful when you're dealing with conflict. Okay, so that's the first step, press. And they recommend about 2 minutes. 2 minutes, they say you can give your point, give a reason, give an example, give a summary. So I'm going to try it right now, see if it works. This is a makeshift team, and take something that's not as controversial as it was 10 years ago, but still controversial. Uniforms. Okay? So we're going to have uniforms. We're thinking about having uniforms at the school. Who would like to volunteer to oppose? Oh, that was quick. Oppose uniforms. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through this press. We want you to make your point. Like I oppose. Reason why. Give us an example and summarize your view on this. She's collecting a thought. And then I need somebody who is in favor of uniforms also to do the same thing. You're part of our team. Who's in favor of it? Nobody's in favor of uniforms.
I'm in favor of it.
Okay. You're in favor.
Well,
Okay.
someone else can speak. if they
No,
want to.
we'll let her speak against uniforms. Then we'll let you speak for uniforms. And we're only going to give you 2 minutes. And it'll be this. Follow this. Tell us your point.
All of those?
Yes, you do all of them. Give us an example. Take some time to think about it. See, she's already writing down her notes. She's getting prepped here. She knows she's ready to defend to the group her view. Right? And if everybody knows this in advance, everybody can bring their ideas. Why? Because you want everybody to speak at the beginning so they don't feel like they're left out of the team. And this is a good activity. So this is the norm. This is the norm for meetings. Everybody gets to speak out, be quiet, be heard. All right. They're composing their ideas. Just give an example. All right, she's ready. Tell me when you're ready.
I'll never be ready. I've got to, just bear with me.
I'll put the next several pages on here while you're filling that out. All right. And these are the things to do in your team to keep the team warm, keeping pace. All right. Well, I'm glad we can call our meeting here today. We got a great team looking at this issue of school uniforms, and our process manager has identified us 6 people in the school because she knew that some of us had opposing views. She also knew that some of us were on the PTA and some of us were active in the student association. So the 6 of us who are on this committee are been given the task of looking at school uniforms. And it's very important in this team that every voice is heard because every opinion is valued. We don't just say that here, we actually live it. So we're going to take a few minutes to go around the whole group and find out where everybody's at on this issue. And I've sent you an email in advance that we're going to do this process. We're going to start out with the press. Then we're going to have a period of asking questions. And then we're going to have a summary. And as a team leader on this team, I'm going to summarize what our decisions here. Then we're going to poll to see where people are at on the next step. And then we'll talk about the 80-20 principle, which is finding the 20% of the discussion that captures 80% of the results, and we'll get to that. But right now we're just going to do press, and I don't see what's your name?
Janet.
And Janet's going to give us her opinion, and then Karen will give us her opinion.
Maybe the last say, huh?
No, not necessarily. We'll find out. Janet.
I don't think it's good for students to have uniforms because they need to be individuals, and there's no individuality in that. And I believe that students need to establish who they are, and that includes their clothing. And as an example, if you look down the hallway, you see every student have the same